Two instances I can think of was just a lot of rain, tons of rain. One time in Laos, it flooded. We were going through a Buddhist temple, and it had a cement wall around the Buddhist temple, and we were going through the courtyard sort of thing to get to the other side. And it was so flooded that there was a small waterfall coming down the entrance into the courtyard between the two cement walls around the place, around the steps. And we got on our bikes, and we were like pushing our bikes up through this little waterfall to get in the courtyard. It rained for a ton there. Another time was in Thailand, where we could not get on a bus to an appointment that we needed to get to, and so we were walking in floods, super high. We couldn't get to our apartment also, and we put garbage bags around our feet and our shoes up to our knees, and there was just garbage, and the roads turned into rivers. So that was pretty bad. So dog meat. I ate dog meat. That was pretty gamey and weird at first, but a couple bites I started to like it. There's this lizard that Thai people and Laotian people hate. It's called tukar, and they make these weird noises and stuff, but they're kind of superstitious about them. But we were able to catch some of these lizards. They look kind of like geckos. But we were able to catch some, and we had a member chop it up and make a grinded a dish, where usually there's this dish where it's kind of like grinded pork and stuff, but she made it out of this lizard. So yeah, bones and all. It was weird, but we ate it, and the Thai people did not like that. But this lady thought it was really funny. So that was kind of weird. And then fried crickets. That was probably the other weirdest thing I've eaten. And there's another dish where they call it jumping shrimp, or dancing shrimp, where there's these tiny shrimp that are still alive, and they throw in all these spices and stuff on this dish, and there's some shrimp in it. But because they're still alive, they're jumping, and so when you're eating it, it's like Pop Rocks, and you can still feel the shrimp jumping up in your mouth. But you have to be careful that you don't get parasites and stuff like that from eating those. But it's kind of an adventure. First off, probably the best thing I did was I did get 2 pairs of shoes, and I would switch them out every day. So I'd wear one shoes the first day, the next day the other ones, and the next day the other ones. So I think they last a lot longer if you do that. Mine, I'm still wearing mine, and I've been back a year, a little over a year. So it's going over 3 years now. There's a lot of floods, so you want to do that with shoes. They say you can also wear sandals that are closed-toed sort of sandals and stuff, but I haven't tried those. Everything gets soaked and wet anyway, so we just wore shoes. I learned to sew up my pants, just little holes I would get in my pants and sew up. It's pretty cheap though. I think you can find some there in Laos or Thailand. They'll sew it up for you. But I learned to do that, little scrapes or tears in the pants or shirts, which is handy. And also learned to play the harmonica. My parents sent a harmonica for Christmas, so learned to play that. So there was one time we were teaching about tithing, and as I told her, you would take your tithing and put it in an envelope. The word envelope and the word for a brothel, they're the same. The only difference is the tone. So I said it with the wrong tone, so I told her she would take her tithing into a brothel. So that was kind of a mistake. So mostly I think with biking, I've had a lot of my more dangerous experiences. I had crashed a few times. I've hit a car. I've had a car hit me. There was probably one thing that we did was in Laos because there's a lot of trucks, whereas in Thailand you wouldn't see that a lot. And on trucks, it's a lot easier to grab onto the bed of the truck on the back of it and then just let it pull you on your bike. So we can get to a lot of appointments, because in Laos, our area was a lot bigger. I mean, we had the whole country, and sometimes we would go out to places really far. Although we couldn't go too far because we were very restricted, and it's kind of more dangerous the farther you go out in Laos because of the government. But so we would have races trying to get to places. Sometimes there was 4 of us, and so we started grabbing onto the end of these trucks. But there was one particular time where it was pretty dangerous. Sometimes there would be rain, a lot of rain. You couldn't see the ground, which you want to be able to see, so you can see if there's a pothole. Otherwise, you're just letting the truck pull you right through anything, and so you couldn't see. But we still did it sometimes. But probably the most dangerous I was holding on to what they call a tuk-tuk. It's a three-wheeled transportation for like tourists or quick transportation. It's kind of a taxi, but it's a lot smaller and it's kind of in the open. You just jump on the back of kind of this three-wheeled vehicle. And so we held onto the bars of this thing, me and my companion on either side of this tuk-tuk. And as we were going, we got closer and closer to cars or vehicles that were parked on the side. And I wasn't paying attention, and I saw a car that was coming, and I pulled my bike kind of behind it, but my handlebar still clipped the other car. So it toppled me, and this is out in the middle of the road. So I toppled forward out in the road and hit my companion. He toppled forward. He was able to jump off his bike and roll and stand up, and I fell out on the ground. But luckily, there was no cars before us where it was pretty busy, so it was kind of a miracle. And then a mistake or poor judgment I made, but that I was still protected from getting hit by another car or run over and stuff, and my bike was still fine. So. Dogs, mangy dogs mostly, I think, I can think of, other than riding elephants and stuff for fun. Dogs, they'll come and get you if you're not wary sometimes. They're just mangy, dirty little things. If you like dogs before, you might still like them, but in Thailand, sometimes it's easy to not like them so much. I think probably one of the greatest life lessons I ever learned was to not worry. I think we worry too much. I think I would worry specifically. God He's doing most of the work. Let God do most of the work. Sometimes we take a little bit too much on ourselves, especially as missionaries. It's amazing how much God has already done and prepared. He just asks us to do some things, and we do the best we can. So don't worry. Like, God's at the helm, and all we can do is keep going in a great cause and bringing people into Christ. Training can be hard. The greenie wants to be the best they can be, and they come with some expectations of how they imagine things to be. And when you're training, sometimes you're still young and in the mission and trying to learn the language, and so it can be difficult to you don't always live up to the expectations of the greenie. Sometimes those can be the most difficult companionships, but you learn a lot. You learn a lot in those companionships. I was in my last area, and we were contacting a lot of people. We found this one girl. Her nickname, most Thai people and Laotian people go by nicknames, not their real name. Her nickname was June. We taught her, and I had begun to realize by that time what it meant to have power and authority from God as a representative of Jesus Christ. But in that lesson, I had a thought that came into my mind and my heart that she was Buddhist. That wasn't the thought, but I knew she was Buddhist, and most people they don't know anything about Christianity. But the thought that came into my heart, my mind, was she has prayed to God before. She's prayed to Heavenly Father and prayed to God. And she never mentioned anything about having tried to do anything or Christian or anything about that, but I knew she had done it. And I asked her, and I said, I didn't quite ask her, it was more of, you've prayed before, haven't you? And at that moment, I had learned what it meant to really just kind of sometimes to know the thoughts and intents of another person's heart that God will reveal to you. And she had prayed, and there was a hard time in her life where she didn't know where to turn, and she had seen on TV or somehow learned about prayer and Christianity, so she tried praying to God. That's why she agreed to meet with us years later when we ran into her. So that was quite a powerful experience for me, understanding my purpose as a missionary and that I had power and authority from God, and a spiritual experience for her too.